And new studies suggest COVID-19 can spread through the air like an aerosol and has mutated to become even more infectious. Although the mutation is not more severe than the original, it could mean the ongoing vaccine development has to go back to square one. Lee Young-eun reports.
Some new information about COVID-19 suggests it could be harder to stop than previously thought. First is that airborne transmission of the coronavirus is possible. According to New York Times, some 239 experts from 32 countries sent an open letter to the World Health Organization saying that tiny particles smaller than droplets may linger in the air for hours, infecting people even in socially distant settings. That's contrary to what the WHO has long insisted, that the primary mode of transmission is large respiratory droplets that fall quickly to the ground. Even in its latest update in June, the agency said airborne transmission is only possible in particular circumstances, like during medical procedures that produce aerosols. With the finding, the scientists urged the agency to revise its recommendations. Other studies have found that the virus has mutated, making it more infectious than before.
Thankfully, the CDC has been there since the beginning to send you infected tests to tell you that you don't need a mask. Everyone that got tested got infected. Everyone that didn't wear a mask got infected. Any questions? Everyone got infected. That was the plan. But now it's coming out that the virus is mutating. No vaccine is possible. That everyone has been infected. That everything they told you at the beginning was a lie. And they knew it was a lie. It wasn't some kind of coincidence. Ladies and gentlemen, this was part of the plan. The plandemic. This is Stranger Than Fiction News. Broadcasting live from the dark side of the planet. We've got so much news to cover, but here's the big bombshell. An army of doctors is pushing the World Health Organization to admit that this virus is airborne, but they're still holding back, dragging their feet, being proxies of the CCP to minimize the scope of this outbreak. We're broadcasting live on the ScrewTube. Big shout out to everybody out there in the audience. Toasted Web, 68 Charger, Matthew C4. Just get it over with. Super Dump 2020, he says. What's going on out there? Much love to everyone. All the usuals, all the casuals. Plumber Works. What's going on out there? So much news to cover. Who's talking about the election? Who's talking about Maxwell? Lane Maxwell. Right now she says she's going to sing like a bird. All the pedos are getting anxious, but we're about to celebrate Pedo Joe as the 46th president of the United States. Can't you wait? Can't you wait for what's coming next? Project ZYPHR, Dark Winter, the second wave, the third wave, the vaccines, the transhumanism. What is this? What is this? Oh, the music guy, the video guy. They're fired. This is live television, ladies and gentlemen. You've tuned in to Stranger Than Fiction News because the truth is stranger than fiction. Have you seen a giant death tower near you lately? Many people are wondering if these death towers have anything to do with this disease. We'll be getting into that and so much more. So much news to cover. You never know where to begin, but you know how this story ends. It's the Georgia Guidestones, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Agenda 21. It's the extermination program. They're spraying you like bugs. They're zapping you with their radiation, ladies and gentlemen. And right now, your town is worse than a microwave oven, according to official measurements. And this is why they've allowed the protests to continue. You know, it's like a giant rat trap. It sucks people right into the core of the death grid so that they can be attacked and irradiated. We've covered that in our latest broadcasts. Of course, we've got the prime suspects. We know that this pandemic was paid for in part by Fauci and Gates. Here we see them together. We see them together quite a bit, pushing their vaccines, pushing their miracle cures, and trying to control the narrative. And we know that they paid for this virus and that they plan on benefiting from this vaccine. The crime is the motive, and the motive is the crime. What is the video guy doing? Ladies and gentlemen, let's listen to this.
Dr. Fauci gave $3.7 million to the Wuhan laboratory. We paid for it. We paid for the damn virus that's killing us.
For at least 5 years, Fauci was giving nearly $1 million to the Wuhan lab for gain-of-function coronavirus research, which means making the virus worse. And they finally figured out something that worked for their plans, for the Agenda 21, the forever virus that never goes away, part HIV, part rabies, part mono, and part cancer. And so this is going to be a big boom for the healthcare industry. Big revenue coming in the near future. This is the time to invest in big pharma, ladies and gentlemen, because they're all going to be making a killing. No pun intended. Which side of the planet is the dark side of the planet? So the numbers are up. More and more people are infected. This virus isn't going away. And the reason is because it's airborne, and because it's like HIV, and because it mutates, so there'll never be a vaccine. And so even if they do roll out a vaccine one day, you'll never expect it to be any more effective than the flu shot, which is, 20% effective at best. And all of a sudden, they're going to be injecting people with modifications of the coronavirus that they think are circulating. There's no telling what's going to happen. But how many of you have seen the movie I Am Legend? Ladies and gentlemen, it started with a retrovirus, and given that this virus is part rabies, what's the video guy doing? You never can tell what's going on. Getting into some of the news, Ghislaine Maxwell pleads guilty, will plead guilty and start cooperating soon. Singing like a bird, ladies and gentlemen. When Hong Kong is more patriotic than Seattle. See, you don't know what freedom is until you completely lose it. And in a few short years, we're going to completely lose freedom in America, maybe less. And that's when we'll be ready to boogaloo. But right now, you just, you're paying attention. You're like a deer, on the highway. You can see the headlights coming, and you're staring at it. Or better yet, you're like cows grazing in the pasture, waiting for the slaughterhouse. Moo, cows. So we got some exclusive footage of some type of attack. White boy here is about to get smacked. And check out, the operation. The guy tippy-toes in like he's dancing. It's some kind of dance thing. He tippy-toes in, doing the hot step, and then runs into the car. Now the other dude, Trucks, James, Vladimir, unknown event, access through Christ. How's it going? Verticality. What you doing? Paul, Toasted Webs. I love that name, Toasted Webs. It's like hack the planet, toast that bitch, fry it. Hammond, what's going on? Rick the Explorer, what have you discovered lately? Lisa Maggard, Dr. Derail the system. I like that. Timmy, how you doing? How many people remember the movie A Christmas Story? How far have we fallen? How far have we devolved? Look at these people on the left. They're your health commissioners, health ministers, and the like. And, look at them. It's like Dr. Death out there. And we were talking about the story in Australia. And they got a health minister that's called Dr. Van Diemen. Literally, we talked about that just the other day. Here's an update from the Towers of Misery out there in Australia.
Essential housing nicknamed Flemington Penitentiary. Tenants hung posters demanding to be treated as humans, not caged animals, as the battle for supplies continued.
We don't know what's going on, how long we're going to be in here. We need diapers, we need formulas, we need essentials, and that's not being provided to us.
Mohammed's voice was heard, but only after speaking with the media. Others relied on the generosity of neighbours. This woman left the safety of lockdown to deliver what was supposed to have already come.
Every single household this morning, just by way of example, received a bread and milk delivery at their door.
Bread and milk delivery. And that's the best part of what got delivered. Imagine, they just lock you in your building or your zip code, and they're like, nobody comes in or out. And now they start delivering food like the Red Cross, and it's just like mystery meat. And who knows what's laced in it. We're going to be getting into that. But these people, without notice, are totally imprisoned in their buildings. And this is, in an English-speaking country. Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue on with this bombshell report from the Towers of Misery in Melbourne.
That they're supplying to everybody is expired. And
the food is expired that they're sending these people.
What do they expect us to eat? They're not helping us with nothing.
Thousands of meals are on their way with community.
Did you see that? Hold on, let's go back to that if we can. What was that?
Meals are on their.
That looked like, it looked juicy.
With
it looked like slop. Here, let's play that again.
And what do they expect us to eat? They're not helping us with nothing.
Thousands of meals are on their way with community groups refusing to wait for the government to deliver.
Nothing here. Nothing at all is from Danny Andrews.
Overnight packages of pastries and frozen vegetables were dotted in front of doors in otherwise empty hallways.
Now, if somebody dumped some food, on the floor in front of your door, how many of you would actually eat it? I mean, you'd have to be pretty hungry to eat it, right? You don't know where that food came from. You don't know what happened to it. I mean, you're putting in a lot of, trust, to say the least, when mystery meat shows up at your door. Look at that. What is that?
Lunch and dinner.
With little sign of police patrolling inside the buildings as promised.
There is a little bit of chaos between comms from health agencies, police agencies, and indeed the community aren't that sure what's going on either.
One man needed a police escort back to North Melbourne before a 32-year-old was arrested for trying to flee Flemington.
That male bit one of the members, and so he was taken into custody and is being processed.
Notice the pentagram behind the guy there.
53 infections have now been detected across the 9 towers.
And the cross.
Have been linked through contact tracing, while 16 more were found through testing.
Essentially a doubling of the numbers from yesterday, and really not unexpected.
Roughly 400 residents had been swabbed by this morning.
Swabbed.
600 to go if restrictions are to be lifted by Thursday.
Mandatory testing for everyone.
Promise the lockdown will end after 5 days.
I simply can't answer your question until we've got everyone tested, and that is the clearest appeal that I can make to every single resident in those towers.
We're happy to comply with that, but
happy to comply with the mandatory testing. Anything to get released from your imprisonment. And that's how they're going to blackmail you. That's how they're going to racket you, racketeering. It's like the mob coming to your door saying, take our test or else. They made sure that everybody got infected. They gave everybody the wrong advice. They paid for this virus. They made sure that it came in, and now they want you to grab your ankles and submit to the anal swab COVID 9/11 test, bitches. COVID 9/11, not 19, 911.
We need resources. We need.
It's another 9/11, ladies and
We need the
gentlemen.
supplies. We need the essentials. We don't know what we've done to deserve this, and honestly, we would love to see a quick, swift change.
Tower residents who need help can dial 1800 961 054 for the Housing Call Centre.
Indeed. Call them, and the Goon Squad is guaranteed. How's everybody doing out there? We're still live, hopefully, on the ScrewTube channel. You never know what these people will do when the truth comes out. They love banning books. You think you're free now, just wait a couple more years. You'll see what freedom is really like. And this is all part of the plan, all part of the pandemic, all part of the Agenda 21. These people are out to get you. They've released a bioweapon to attack you, and you're sitting there watching the TV like, I wonder what comes next. Do you really want to find out, ladies and gentlemen? You're gonna find out. And instead of showing up on July 4th, you just sat there and felt guilty about it. What could you do? You weren't gonna drive to, the nearest big city and hang out with the libtards. And look, to be quite honest, we don't always get the army we want to fight these wars, but these communists are motivated. They want to take over. And so, I'm thinking that maybe we should shift the narrative of this channel a little bit to be a little more communist friendly. Hey you, comrade. What do you want to do? And look, that's another story. But I don't think until America really experiences what Europe went through in the 1940s, until they really see what it's like when tyranny takes over and, they're gassing people, they're infecting people, they're turning the cities into concentration camps. I don't think until you taste full-blown oppression will you realize that freedom is worth fighting for. And people have become complacent. I mean, they've been free for so long that they're now fat and lazy, and they've taken everything for granted, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think about that? So much more to cover. Check this out. This is really going to piss you off. Now, this is Angela King running for Congress in Georgia's 5th District.
Attention. Why is it that when it comes to white people, they're able to be Republicans or Democrat and not be called a coon or a sellout or a house nigga?
No shit. So she's keeping it real. And look what she just tweeted. You might want to not see that again. So what you got is some LGBT thing going on here. And this is what they're doing in your schools, right? And, if you want to opt out, here comes the social worker to place your child in some kind of, pedo foster home. Might as well be a FEMA camp. And so the whole system is really upside down. The CDC is like, oh, you don't need masks, just wash your hands when it's airborne. Tell me, doctor, how does washing my hands protect me from an airborne virus? Well, there, citizen, it's not meant to protect you. It's to give you the false sense of security. That way you'll walk into the shopping mall, you'll walk into the grocery store, and you'll get infected, not knowing what you're walking into. That's the whole idea of the trap. The trap. The sheeple out there. 5G, nobody asked for it. Nobody wants it. Nobody needs to download a movie faster than they can watch it. Ladies and gentlemen, what's this? Experts say coronavirus is airborne. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah, be sure to get the EMF 390. Get a meter if you want to live. Shop around. Check it out. I'm sure we'll run into some footage later, ladies and gentlemen. But look, the commies, the BLM, they're organized. If we had boogaloo crews like this out on July 4th, we might have been able to put an end to the New World Order. But I'll tell you why black people are motivated. Because they've been enslaved. They've tasted tyranny. You, as a white boy in America, have never really tasted tyranny. So you're a lazy bitch. And in fact, you're probably worse than that. You're probably some kind of, soft metrosexual, that probably plays with all sorts of, magic eggs and who knows what else. It's despicable. But had you tasted tyranny, you'd be a real man. Had you gotten to war, you'd be a real man. But most of the people out there, you know, they don't even know what's really going on. But, you know, whether you like them or hate them, Black Lives Matter knows what's going on. People in the city are much more awake to a certain extent. They may not agree with conservative values. That's because, you know, public education has brainwashed them into things like devolution. And of course, science tells us that there's no way that even the simplest form of life could have evolved from primordial soup due to the complexity of the simplest form of life, namely the DNA, the programming language that makes it all happen, which is megabytes of information, which is like an encyclopedia set of information. And you can't just randomly assemble all of the words and sentences and paragraphs in an encyclopedia through random events. That'd be like getting Shakespeare by throwing Scrabble letters on the kitchen table. You got to think about that. You can check out the documentary Unlocking the Mysteries of Life for more on that. But this is one of the ways that they turn people into, you know, what do you want to call it? Useful idiots. And you just got a lot of dark-sided, dark-minded, unhappy people out there that are, you know, basically running amok. And had they been, you know, brought up like early Americans, you know, we'd still be in the good old days. But the day that they took the Bible out of schools is the day that we all went back into bondage, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what this is about, that pyramid on the back of the dollar bill. That represents the bondage of Egypt that you were freed from. New Babylon, the new world order. New York Times, experts claim that coronavirus is airborne. Experts. Must be a conspiracy theory. Experts say, experts. And we've actually got a lot of videos. We need to cover this here before we get all into 1776, ladies and gentlemen. Not sure what the video guy is doing on vacation. We need a new video guy. Please support our community at patreon.com/STF News. We're setting up a new bunker 24/7. Broadcasting is on the horizon. But we need your support. Support this community. Support the truth. We reach 100,000 people a day through our various internet networks. And, you know, we make a difference out there. And it's not easy. It's a war. And we don't get the funding of, you know, the Defense Department. We don't get the funding from, you know, PBS or the big, you know, corporations. So there's something to be said about airflow, given that this is airborne. And whether you think there's a virus out there or not, you really can't afford to take the chance at this stage. You know, it's okay to be a skeptic. That's scientific. But how many of you have actually run a scientific test on whether there's a virus or not? And so, you know, you want to take a chance right now, take a gamble that there is no virus. And it'd be like saying perhaps that there is no cancer. Does that really make sense? So people really need to put things into perspective. Maybe there isn't a virus, but what if there is? And that's something you really need to assess in your planning, ladies and gentlemen. But as you can see, airflow is more of an issue than you might think, as is virus load. We've talked about this quite a bit as far as, you know, what makes this disease so bad. And it really starts off with depriving the body of oxygen and making the body more acidic. And that allows the disease to grow. And we've actually got a real nice montage here somewhere. And, you know, what we see in some of the, you know, microscopic evidence and the like is that these little virus particles will congregate to make, you know, like virus tissues. They're polarized, and so they make like a tissue that turns into like a home base or perhaps even like a pseudo tumor, if you will, of virons that really allows the disease to springboard into the next phase. And so, we've been talking a lot about, keeping down the inflammation, raising your pH with baking soda and other natural anti-inflammatories. You can find all of that in the video description. Here you're looking at video, if we can freeze frame this, of a cell bursting with coronavirus. And you have to look at the proportion here. As you can see, it's really small compared to the cell. And the cell is already pretty small, microscopic in fact. And the way scientists have equated this is that it's basically like, the virus is about the size of a chicken on the surface of planet Earth. That's how big a human cell is compared to this virus. That tells you how small these virus particles are. And if they're airborne and they're shaped geometrically like pollen, I mean, this thing can blow in the wind for miles. But it's really all about dose. And, we've got reason to believe that the second wave or the third wave or the second time people get infected or the third time people get infected won't be as bad as the first time that they were infected back in December, January, or February. But here comes the vaccine. And the vaccine has the potential of sparking all sorts of cytokine storms. And we're also learning about the relationship between the flu vaccine and other vaccines and inflammation pathways of victims in the most severe cases. So there's a lot of things actually that we can point out as far as who's getting it the worst. And demographics tells us that in fact minorities are getting it the worst. And now you can tell that everyone has to live in a bubble, more or less, and dating has become 10 times more difficult. So you know what kind of picture that paints, ladies and gentlemen? It tells you a little bit about the mastermind of this virus. Some, single, white, ugly, scientist somewhere. And that's probably Fauci or Bill Gates, mad at the world, or some other guy, or girl, but more than likely a guy. And you can, you see these people at the mall all the time, they just didn't make it. And, single, they look angry, but highly intellectual. You know what I mean? You've all had a college professor like that. That's the profile we're looking for as the key mastermind for this virus. But, we've got the receipt. Dr. Fauci's fingerprints are all over it, ladies and gentlemen. And we see the complicity of, our government at every level and every agency. And, they've known about this virus since November, ladies and gentlemen. So, what were they doing between November and, the lockdown mid-March, or, when they were telling people to wear masks in early April? What kind of pneumonia isn't airborne? What kind of official policy is you don't need a mask when there's some kind of SARS virus running around out there? So these people are out to get you, and it's the same reason why you're looking at video like this. It's the same reason why you got fluoride in the water, why you got 100 vaccines now for kids, and autism is through the roof. It's the reason why you've got the death towers everywhere. These people are out to get you. And, it's an organized criminal syndicate of Luciferian cult members that love to molest children. That's how they get off, ladies and gentlemen. That's what binds them together, kind of like, a crack house. You know what I mean? And this is their crack And they're all in it together like a bunch of Charlie Manson groupies, and they know that the only way that, that they can succeed and live peacefully is by killing all the Christians. And that's essentially what they're trying to do. And, what we're dealing with, it isn't about Republicans versus Democrats or black versus white. It's really about Christians versus anti-Christians. That's what this struggle, ladies and gentlemen, is about. I don't know how many of you have read the Gospels. Anyone out there? But just a quick reminder, the religion of Jesus is Judaism. Now, you may follow Jesus and label yourself a Christian, but his religion is Judaism. And, he references the Old Testament scripture, the prophets. Where do you think those people came from? China? So, that should be an understanding that everybody has out there. And look, the Jews have a homeland, thankfully, and Christians need a homeland. We need a homeland too. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what America is all about. Christian homeland. There's a church in every town, and these Luciferian child molesters are trying to steal that from you. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you're on the right page on that road to recovery, getting your country back. And you need to get it back before it's too late, because they're going to roll out the Terminators, the Skynet, the Robocops, more pandemics and the like. You let these serial killers go and they'll be back with more. And that's why it's important that we flush out the system. That's why it's important that we boogaloo. And that's why it's important that no matter what scuttles this ship, it has to be better than if we don't, than the outcome if we don't do nothing. We can't allow this system. We can't allow, these people to continue. Elon Musk wants to, brain chip you. Bill Gates wants to inject you. It's like the movie Hostel. It's like, what kind of torture comes next? And that's what these people are. They're the tormentors. They are the armies of the devil. They are the demons. They are the tormentors. That's what we're dealing with. And it's not about, Republicans or Democrats. It's not about flesh and blood. This is about spiritual wickedness from heavenly places, fallen angels. That's what we're wrestling against. Demons, things we can't fully see and understand. And there's a whole world like that out there that we don't see or understand. How many people have seen an atom? How many people have seen a molecule? How many people know anything about, airflows or fluid dynamics or gravity, And look, we're not going to get into flat moon right now, or is it round like a pancake or flat like a pancake? But, there's a lot we don't understand. And to assume that we do understand everything that is in the world of the unseen is really, let's just say, dangerous. So I think we need to be a little bit more open-minded about what's going on out there. And I think, back in the day when we were all kids growing up somewhere, we played that game Duck, Duck, Go. And, it's that expression, if it looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, yeah, it's a duck. Ladies and gentlemen, if these people are telling you they worship the devil, if they're out there touching little children, they're a bunch of Charlie Manson groupies. And evil is as evil does. No surprise these people are trying to kill you. What would you expect them to do? Do you think they're going to save you? Have you seen, these Democrat districts out there? Right? It looks like hell on earth. Why is that? That's the imagery they want you to see. That's their world. And the more we let them control this world, the more it's going to look like hell on earth. This is a holy war. This is a war against evil. And you've been called to fight in this war. Every person in the Bible was a doer. They weren't just sitting around waiting for things to resolve themselves. They participated. David was there to fight Goliath. And, time and time again, people showed up to make a difference. And so, everyone out there has to, be a superhero in their community. Talk about the truth. Get a network, get organized, get prepared, wake people up. But just know that you can't save everyone out there. Don't waste your time with a black hole. Many are called, few are chosen. That means, many are unchosen. But only a few people are gonna, understand what you're going through, what we're going through. And that's why communities like this one are important. It reminds you that even though it feels like you're alone out there, you're not alone out there. And every truther video since 9/11, has told you that you are not alone out there. And this is, just another 9/11, ladies and gentlemen. But things are getting more serious, more high-tech, more deadly. The radiation levels are going up. If you're not aware of what you're getting dosed with, we can't plead enough with you to get a meter, any meter. Find out, where the hot spots are. Avoid your exposure as much as you can. That's the point of getting a meter, is reducing your exposure. Now, you can bring that to another level, like, using EMF paints or shielding and the like, or not moving into, an area that's got 5G or hardcore, 4G LTE coverage, or, smart grids, mesh networks, etc., etc. But it may, make a difference as far as, where you shop, where you live, where you work, believe it or not. And look, the research tells us it's not worth it. It's not worth getting exposed above 1 milliwatt per meter squared, in a long-term kind of setting. And that's what you want to avoid. And there's death traps everywhere. We can't stress enough for people to get a meter, become aware of their EMF environment. Again, you can't really see the EMF with your naked eye, but it has a huge biological impact on you and on people that you know. And it does suppress the immune system, attack white blood cells and the like. And so it makes all viruses even more deadly. And that's what the research tells us. Of course, the big telecom dollars on TV, don't want people learning that. So it's like, oh no, it's safe. Everybody else is just on crack. And it's just like, look, everybody has seen the cancer rates go up. Everybody pretty much knows somebody that's had brain cancer now. It wasn't like that in the 90s. Okay. It's just like the autism. It wasn't there like it is today in the 90s. And that tells you that there's something going on. And the way people are getting dosed these days, with their phones, with their routers, with their tablets and their laptops and the like. And it's not until you see it for yourself that you realize, oh yeah, I better get that Ethernet cable. I better ditch that smartphone. I better get a Faraday cage for that smart meter. I better put up a little shielding, on the wall that faces the death tower. I better add another layer of tinfoil because, it'll make a difference. And you can see it make a difference. Now, there isn't 100%, but the idea is to reduce your exposure as much as possible. And we're talking about the long term. And until you've, experienced, the news that somebody has been diagnosed with brain cancer, it really, doesn't probably register with you. But we're seeing a lot more of that. And, there's no telling what other types of effects it has on people. So reducing your exposure is key. And the most you can do, the best you can do to begin with is understanding your environment. So check out the EMF 390. We've listed a description of that in the video description. And You can check that out on our website, stfnreport.com, or on our Facebook page, STFN Reloaded. Big shout out to Bella Marie out there that runs the Facebook page, and many others. You know, it's a crazy world out there. Keep keep fighting back with information and get people organized in your town. You really got to fight this at a city level. Wherever your town is, make it a safe haven, for information. Get people aware, get people ready for jury nullification and the like. Get your Boogaloo crews ready, because the Boogaloo will be back after the elections. Have no doubt about it. And we'll probably see a few other things between now and then. We'll have to leave it there for this broadcast. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Big shout out to everybody in the audience if you're still out there. Not sure if anybody's still out there, but if they haven't cut us off, I want to wish everybody a wonderful day and the like. And protect yourselves out there from everything that you can. Industrial foods, pesticides, get organic, peel your vegetables. Don't just get the industrial tomato sauce and the like. And forget restaurants. You're just getting so loaded with all sorts of things. So cook your own food. Make sure your water's pure. Make sure your air is pure. Make sure, your environment in terms of EMF is pure or natural. And live the natural life. Go out in the country. Go explore the world. But just staying in the city limits is like being in the Matrix, and you never, really see past the illusion of the urban jungle. So here's, some of the videos of the meters out there. And, we've talked about this before, the tri-field, the gigahertz solution and the like, and the EMF 390. And, you can spend $400 or $500 on a meter if you want to, but the EMF 390 works just as well, and it's got features that the other ones don't. And, for the money, it just blows everything away. You'll love fox hunting with these EMF meters. It's quite an experience. So you can put it on a GPS cradle and just drive around and just see how you're getting zapped on your way to work, on your way to school. Then it makes you wonder, what else is, hot, if you will. And we're getting, videos back from members of the audience like Luke Skywalker that's out there in the Yukon, and they are just irradiating that town with like 300 milliwatts. It's just, there must be something going on in the Yukon, like they want to wipe the people out there. So we're following that, but you should definitely, check out the Bioinitiative safety standards, find out what you're getting dosed with, and see if you can't, make a difference in your community that way, in your life, in your house, and, in your network of people. Go to their house and go, look, this is what you're getting dosed with, and make people a little paranoid, because they need to be. These death towers are, juiced with megawatts of power, and the amount of radiation that they're pumping out now is like nothing ever seen before. And we've seen the evolution over the years, from like the first videos with EMF meters back in 2012, 2013, and you can see the measurements in like microwatts per meter squared. And now, we're getting like hundreds of milliwatts per meter squared. So, we're looking at magnitudes higher. Right here, you're looking at the EMF 390 at the GQ Electronics Lab out there. And here they're demonstrating the sine wave function of the RF browser. And this is something you just don't have with other meters, that are sub $20,000. You can actually see the waveform of the transmission. And, we could spend all day on that. But you really want to know what you're getting dosed with. And you want to be below 1 milliwatt per meter squared. And you'd be surprised, how bad your phones are blasting you, how bad your router's blasting you, and your kids too, and your neighbor's kids, and your sister's kids. You know what I mean? So, we've left the link in the description. Here's a comparison with the tri-field meter and the EMF 390, and he's going to flip the switch for a transmission at 1 gigahertz and you're going to see them both just jump to like 15 milliwatts. And you know, the tri-field just kind of shows you the scale, but the EMF 390 has so many different modes, and you can really see, you know, what you're getting blasted with. And you know, excellent product. Ships from Seattle, 1-year warranty, etc., etc. Ships worldwide. You know, people often ask us, you know, does it ship to Romania? Does it ship to Australia? It ships worldwide. And they make radiation detectors too. You know, it's not just like some kind of rogue product from nowhere. They got all sorts of radiation detectors and other EMF meters and the like, and so you can check that out. But we like the EMF 390. It's got a nice range, 0 to 10 gigahertz and the like. And can't say enough nice things about it, to be quite honest. We'll leave it there for this broadcast. You know, we don't want to drone on about the EMF 390, but everybody loves it. So you deserve to know. You'll thank us when you get it. You deserve to know what you're getting blasted with, and that's the first step of understanding the environment you live in, quite literally, as well as, you know, other news stories. But the EMF is just, you know, it's insane right now, and there's death towers everywhere. You know, monstrous things. As you're driving around, it's like an invasion from another world. You know, might as well be like, you know, War of Worlds and the like. Check it out. Well, we'll check you guys out next time. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Like and share. See us on the Facebook page if you're on Facebook. If not, feel free to mirror this content wherever, you know, Instagram, TikTok, you know, make your own snippets, make your own pages, and get all of these videos out there. Check out our video archives. Everybody needs to know what they're getting dosed with, what they're getting exposed to in the food, the water, the air. You know, the Agenda 21, the Georgia Guidestones, how they're trying to indoctrinate, you know, children in the schools and poison their minds with devolution and democrat ideology from Sodom and Gomorrah, New Babylon. Till the next time, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this,